All right, everyone, are you ready for it? I am officially down 50 pounds. I cannot even believe I can hear myself saying that, actually. I am down 50 pounds after, maybe, I don't know, several years of struggling to get this weight off, and I finally cracked the code. And today's video, I'm going to be answering the most popular questions that I get regarding losing this weight. So this is gonna be a good one and a much anticipated video. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Stasia. In case this is the first time you're landing on one of my videos, I have recently lost 50 pounds following a whole food plant-based diet. And I always like to preface these types of videos with saying that did not come easy for me. So I know you might hear some other people saying, oh, it was a breeze, the weight just flew off of me. You're not gonna find that on my channel. For years, and especially for those of you who have been following me for quite some time, you know that the struggle has been real for me. So it has been several years that I really kind of tried this, tried that, this worked, that didn't work. I really had to figure things out for myself, and I'm happy to say that I finally have. So for today's video, I actually went through a lot of my more recent videos in the comment section, as well as some DMs and emails that I've received from some of you, and wrote down the most popular questions that I get all the time regarding this weight loss. So I picked out what I consider to be like the top 10 questions that I get. So I'm gonna be answering all your questions in today's video. But before we jump into that Q&A, if you are also on a weight loss journey and you're in need of some more weight loss friendly recipes that are all oil-free, whole food, plant-based, and might I add, tasty and easy, then for this weekend only, I am running a special on all 3 of my books for only $8. Now, to keep this in perspective, that is less than the cost of one of my books. So there are some fantastic recipes, and that even includes my most recent weight loss book where I give all of the recipes that I was eating to get those first 30 to 40 pounds off. Right now, you are seeing some of my before pictures when I was 50 pounds heavier than what I am right now. And then of course, this is what I look like now. So when I say these recipes work, I am not exaggerating because I am proof that they did. So if you'd like to check them out, then I will have the link to those books posted in my description box below. All right, so let's get into this Q&A. So the first question, and probably the most popular question of all, was, did I exercise? I actually get this question so much that I made a whole video on this, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, something like that. But at any rate, the answer is sadly, no, I didn't exercise. And I guess the only sole reason for that is just because I don't really like exercising, so it doesn't come naturally to me. So I really just wanted to focus on, getting my relationship with my food under wraps. And then the next natural step would be to start including some exercise. So really, aside from, just my normal busy active days, I'm on my feet all day long, running around doing this and doing that. And then of course, when the weather's nice, I'm out walking around to the stores and that kind of thing, take the kids out for a walk. But, outside of that, no, there wasn't any type of exercise to get 50 pounds off. But I am happy to say that I have recently just purchased a new baby of mine, and I do plan on using it very, very often. So this is my new walking pad. I am super excited about this. I've been seeing a ton about these walking pads online, and now I kind of get it because they are just so much easier than having a big bulky treadmill. They're lightweight, they're smaller, so I'm just really, really enjoying having this. I just got it, so I haven't got a lot of use out of it, but I do plan on it. Okay, so the next most popular question is, did I track my calories to lose this weight? And the answer is absolutely not. I did not track any calories at all while losing the weight this time around. Now, I have tracked in the past. I don't even knock tracking because to me, I just see it like, another weight loss tool. So if you're out there and you're someone who prefers to track because you want to keep things, organized and know what, what's what, by all means. I think that if it works for you, great, but for some people, not so much, and they need to stay away from that because it can get them into all kinds of trouble. I respect both sides of it, and I totally get both sides of it, actually. But for me, no, I didn't track calories, and if you want to find out more specifically what I did do to get the weight off, I have a ton of videos that I posted in my description box below that you can feel free to check out, and I go into great detail about exactly what I did. Now, one thing I should mention is, I think it was about maybe 2 months ago or so, I did track just for 3 days because so many people were asking me how many calories I ate in a day, or even just to take a wild guess at it, and I truly didn't know. So a little bit out of curiosity and a little bit out of, wanting to provide an answer to that, I did track my calories for 3 days, and the average did come out that I was averaging around 1,500 calories a day. I didn't change anything about what I ate, I just recorded it. And again, that was just an average. So some days I was up and some days I was down. But outside of that, I did not track my calories. I just ate all these wonderful foods and the weight finally came off. Okay, so another question that I get all the time was, did I eat oatmeal or tofu was a big one when losing the weight, or any other foods beside the recipes in my newest weight loss recipe ebook? The answer to that is yes. So when it comes to my most recent weight loss recipe ebook, which is this one here, these recipes are the recipes that I ate the most to get those first 30 pounds off. So what I did while the weight was starting to come off was I was writing down and keeping track of the meals that I was eating the most, because I knew that if it actually worked, that everyone was going to want to know exactly what I was eating to do it. So then I ended up throwing it into an ebook, for myself to have as a reference, to have all my recipes in one place, and also for any of you who wanted to, have the same thing. So the recipes in that weight loss recipe ebook are the recipes that I ate the majority of the time. But sometimes, yes, of course I ate other things, and I did have oatmeal, but I didn't have oatmeal a lot during that weight loss phase. Oatmeal for me is kind of, off and on. Sometimes I'm on an oatmeal kick. Like, I'll have oatmeal every single day. I've even had oatmeal twice a day. I've often talked about how I have oatmeal for dinner sometimes, because it is seriously sometimes the easiest meal just to whip together when you're pressed for time and want something filling. It's one of the starches that actually doesn't take a lot of time to cook. So I'm a fan of oatmeal like the next, but for some reason during that weight loss phase, I wasn't eating a ton of oatmeal, and that's why I didn't include it in the recipe ebook. However, sometimes, occasionally, yes, I had a little bit of oatmeal, but it just wasn't something that I was eating enough to make the cut for the book. And as far as tofu, I really had to think about that one. And I want to say I might have had tofu once or twice. I don't even know, if I'm being honest. So that just goes to show, if I did have it, then it was so little that I don't even remember. So I'm going to say probably not. And for me, that was simply because tofu is a little bit higher in fat, and I was really, really keeping my fat super low. So would I have a little bit of tofu now? Sure, why not? And can you have tofu to lose weight? Absolutely. But to answer your question, at that time, I really didn't have tofu to get that first 30 pounds off. So I hope that clears up any confusion around the book and about what I was eating. But of course, I was still enjoying some other foods along with the ones in that book. Okay, so the next question I get is, do I eat any fats at all? And the answer is kind of a yes and no answer. So no, I don't eat any overt fats, and that includes things such as avocados, nuts, seeds, and no oil at all in my cooking. So in other words, I'm not adding any fats into the foods that I'm preparing. And this right there is the true magic behind what has worked for me to get the weight off. So before, I would kind of stay plateaued or gain some, lose some, kind of bouncing all over the map a little bit when I still had those overt fats in my diet. I loved avocado toast. I loved the heavier nut-based dressings, that kind of thing. And I really confused, nutrition, like foods being good for us, with being synonymous with also being good for weight loss. And that's where I was really, really confused. And once I started to understand that it's not always synonymous, sometimes things can be good for us, from a health perspective, but not so good for us weight loss wise. And so that started to make a lot of sense for me. And when I took the overt fats out of my diet, that alone, that one change was enough to get my body into a calorie deficit without counting calories, and evidently allow me to start dropping weight. Okay, but the other side to that coin for the answer is that yes, I do consume some fats. So I want that to be clear, because again, there's a lot of confusion over that as well. Some people will hear low fat and take that as no fat. So no, I'm not adding any overt fats into my diet, but much like protein, much like a lot of other things, There are naturally occurring fats in a lot of our foods, such as tofu, like I was mentioning earlier. You know, quinoa is a little bit higher in fat as well. You have edamame that also has, you know, a higher fat content in it. So there are naturally occurring fats in our foods. However, as far as adding any overt fats, the answer is no. So I hope that makes sense and clarifies, you know, the whole question of whether or not I eat any fat. Okay, so the next question I get following up with that last question is, how much fat do I eat every day in my diet? And much like the tracking calories, I don't, you know, specifically sit down and track my fat intake, but I will say I try to be mindful of it, of course, and, you know, I try to keep it anywhere between, you know, 5 to 10 grams of fat per meal. I would say probably on the lower end though, probably around 5 grams of fat per meal. I actually feel my best when I keep the fat really low. So for now, that's where I kind of want to be. And another question, kind of, you know, a bonus question to add to that one is, you know, what about flax seeds or any omega-3s that we get from nuts and seeds? Do I eat those? And the answer to that is no. I currently stopped eating nuts and seeds, and that is more to do with my gallbladder issues than it is actually to do with weight loss. So omega-3s are really important to consume in our diet. So if you do not have gallbladder issues like myself, then I would probably encourage you to eat some type of omega-3s every single day, even if it's just a tablespoon of flax seeds or, you know, 1 or 2 or 3, you know, walnut halves, something like that. Doesn't need to be a lot, but to have none, not my favorite place to be with that. But for some reason, my gallbladder is just not having it when it comes to flax seeds or nuts or seeds. I haven't tried chia seeds yet. But I do appreciate the importance of having omega-3s in the diet. So that is the one exception that I would say that, you know, I wish that I could include that in my diet right now. So never say never. For now, I still haven't been including any in my diet. So as far as answering the question in terms of my weight loss journey, I did not consume any flax seeds, any nuts or seeds whatsoever. I will try again in the future to include some because I do appreciate the importance of them in the diet. Okay, so the next question is, do I drink coffee? And I know for a lot of you, this is a big question because so many people drink coffee. And I find that this is one that many people struggle with just because a lot of people love, you know, the things that go in the coffee, sometimes more than the coffee itself. So when you're trying to cut back on your fat, I can appreciate how difficult that might be, you know, trying to give up that delicious creamy coffee that you're used to. But for me, fortunately, I am not a coffee drinker. I've actually never been a coffee drinker. The only way that I drink coffee would be a decaf, and it's more for me, you know, like a dessert or a treat just spontaneously. So I am not addicted to coffee. I actually don't consume any caffeine whatsoever. So again, that would just be a decaf coffee as a treat. So, so the answer is no, I don't drink coffee. But I just went and grabbed this. So this is my new obsession. The camera is flipped, so I will leave this in my description box below. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love this tea. And funny enough, it was just a random find in my local health food store that I frequent all the time. I was just running in really fast while mom sat with the kids in the car, and I just happened to see it, and it said caramel. And that's of course what caught my attention. Dandelion root is also very good for gallbladder and liver health, so that's the base of this tea, so I was really thrilled about that. But of course the caramel is what really caught my attention, if we're being honest. And so I just grabbed it. Kind of expensive tea a little bit. It's about $1 a bag, but like my mom said, you know, people go to Starbucks every day and spend way more than $1 on a drink. And this one has really clean ingredients in it. Really, really healthy. So anyways, the great thing about this is that I had said to my mom, I was like, this kind of reminds me of like a hybrid between a tea and a coffee. And then lo and behold, I ended up ordering it on Amazon. I found a bigger box on there, and all the comments were saying the exact same thing, that this actually helped people break their coffee addiction because for one reason or another, they were no longer drinking coffee, and this was a great way to transition out of it. Yeah, it's really, really good. It just has a kind of a taste like between coffee and tea. So not affiliated with them at all, but I love this, and yeah, it's kind of my new obsession. So anyways, I can leave the link to this in my description box below if you guys want to check that out. All right, so the next question is, do I take any supplements? So this is another really popular question that I get, and the simple answer to that is yes. So I do take a B12 when I remember to take it. If I'm being honest, I don't take it every day. In fact, actually, my last blood work that I had showed that I was in normal range for B12. So I don't even think it's something that I need to take every single day, but it is something that I'm still mindful of, and something that I probably will take for life. My father actually had super low B12 deficiency and he almost died from it. Like, that's how serious low B12 can be. So keeping that in mind, I am pretty mindful about B12. So I do take a B12 supplement. I take the one that, the sublingual one that goes under the tongue, and apparently it's working because I'm within normal range. As well as I take vitamin D every single day. I really encourage a lot of you guys to get your vitamin D levels checked, because here in Canada, it's not part of the routine blood work. So I don't think I've actually ever had my vitamin D levels checked in my entire life until recently, because in Canada here, we pay for that one. And I requested to have it done, and I got a phone call right back from my doctor saying that I'm severely low in vitamin D and to be taking 4,000 units a day indefinitely until, further notice, until we redo the blood work. So that was a bit of a shock to me. Oh, and one other thing, for those of you who have been following me for a while, you might recall a few months back me saying that I have PVCs, which are heart palpitations, and they were terrible. And since I've been taking the vitamin D every single day, they basically don't exist anymore. So there's that. I don't know if it's, definitely connected, but that's really, between that and lowering the fat a lot, my palpitations are like non-existent. Like they happen, but once in a blue moon. Before, they were happening about 100 times a day. Like, no joke, that's not an exaggeration. About 100 times a day, down to, I might feel flutter maybe once or twice in an entire month. I don't know. So you tell me, lowering the fat, increasing the vitamin D, or both, I don't know, but I basically don't have palpitations anymore. Okay, so my next one are thoughts on protein powder. So for me, I don't believe in taking the protein powders. I really just don't believe that it's necessary. Also, I'm a little bit of an ingredient snob. I don't like to consume anything that has way too many ingredients, or more specifically, ingredients that I can't even pronounce or I don't know what they are. So I really try to be mindful of putting like real stuff into my body. Even if it is lightly processed, I will still make sure I read, the back and make sure that the ingredients sound normal and healthy to me to some degree. So protein powders, they just don't have a place in my diet. So no, I don't consume protein powders. Now, the one thing I will say is that my fiber protein shakes, which were a huge part of my weight loss, huge. Those of you who follow me, I rant and rave about these all the time because I have to, because they literally were such a solid part of my weight loss. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I will link this video in my description box below. These are the homemade protein shakes that I designed and that I drank all the time to get that first like 30 pounds off. And I still drink them. Like, they're delicious, they're filling, love them. And a lot of you have had amazing results with them too. So in some of those fiber protein shakes, I will use a little bit of protein powder just for flavor. And I look at it no different than using a condiment, putting a little bit of ketchup or mustard on, your potatoes or whatever. So it's literally a condiment in my eyes. And I don't use a ton. Usually I use like half the amount. And on top of all of that, I found a brand that I love. Very clean ingredients. You can understand what it is, and it actually only has 4 ingredients. On that note, let me go run and grab it and show you what it is. Okay, just got back. So this is the brand here. Again, I realize it's going to be flipped because my camera is flipped, but this one has 4 ingredients. Let me read what they are. Pea protein, organic cane sugar, coconut cream powder, and natural flavor. So this one has 2 grams of fat for 2 scoops though, and the scoop is pretty big. So usually I just use 1 scoop or even half of a scoop, so the fat intake is still really low. But what I like about this is the difference that it makes in the flavor. So especially in my birthday cake flavor fiber protein shake, it just takes it to another level. You can make it, definitely without the protein powder, just add some vanilla extract instead. Sometimes I do that as well. So not every time I use this, but again, it's just a condiment there that I appreciate the clean ingredients in it, so I don't sweat the small stuff. And I'm not taking it because I believe I need the extra protein. I guess it's an added bonus that I am getting a little bit of extra protein, but anyways, This is the one that I use, the only one that I would use and recommend. Again, not affiliated with them. Maybe I should be. But at any rate, you can find this on Amazon, and I also get this at my local health food store. So this one actually is in No Frills too, if you are from Canada. So anyways, this is the one that I use. A lot of you guys ask me, you know, which protein powder it is, and this is the one. Okay, we're almost there. So the next question is, do I drink alcohol? And the answer is no, I do not drink alcohol. Now, with that being said, you know, if once or twice a year I wanted to have a half a glass of wine, I'm gonna have it. Is that gonna really affect me in any way? Really? Probably not. You know, it's definitely not gonna affect my weight loss. And, you know, health-wise, maybe not the best, maybe not the worst. I don't know. Again, one thing that's really helped me in my weight loss journey is really to stop sweating the small stuff, because I used to be that person that really sweated the small stuff. You know, I would go from a 0 to a level 10 overnight, you know, wanting to be perfect at everything. But the perfection is what would kill me sometimes. You know, it would just throw everything in the garbage, because I felt like if I, you know, veered off just a little off path, then all my efforts were, you know, for nothing, and I would throw it all in the garbage. So I don't think like that anymore. I really, truly don't sweat the small stuff, and, you know, just do the best that I can, you know, 90 to 95% of the time. And it's what's working, and it's keeping me happy, comfortable, and most importantly, it's sustainable this way. Okay, and lastly, number 10 is, do I ever get bloated eating this way? Especially because my consumption of beans is fairly high, especially because of those shakes that I make. And the answer is not really. I mean, yeah, you know, occasionally I guess I can feel bloated, but do I get the type of bloating that it's like, you know, expected, it's guaranteed? I know some of you experience this, especially when it comes to something like beans, and that used to be me as well. And all that means is that your gut is out of balance, because once your gut becomes in balance, then those things don't affect you as much. Now, of course, there's naturally occurring gases that can happen with different foods that we eat that might promote a little bit of bloating, you know, regardless of how healthy your gut microbiome is. But generally speaking, it has more to do with, you know, things being out of balance, that you'll experience that extreme, even sometimes painful bloating. And I know all too well about that. So no, I don't. Since I've corrected my gut many years ago, I don't get that anymore. However, if you do, then my recommendation would be to just go slow. You know, really pace yourself. For example, with my fiber protein shakes, I usually call for about half a cup of beans, although I always say add more or less. That's totally up to you. But if you are someone who experiences a lot of bloating from those, then just use 1 tablespoon. Start with that and see how your stomach tolerates it, you know, and then the following week you can add 2 tablespoons and, you know, 1/3 of a cup, a half of a cup, and work your way up to the point that your body accepts it and deals with it in a more comfortable way for you. Again, this is not a race. This is a marathon. And I know that that's kind of cliche, but it is a perfect analogy, because it really is a lifelong process that all of us just keep trying to chip away at and get better and better. And as we do that, you would be surprised how naturally things start to feel. I was just saying the other day how, you know, I went out to dinner with my family, and, you know, everyone's ordering whatever they order, no judgment. But I was saying to my husband how I've lost my taste like completely for really fattening type of foods, and especially foods that like are pictured with like lots of oil and that kind of thing, like how it almost kind of grosses me out at this point, you know? So it's really funny how our palate changes over time, and you would never think it would, but it eventually does. So just stay the course. I promise you things will get easier. All right, everyone, so it is getting dark here. It is about to start pouring down rain. Well, that's what the weather forecast is saying. We're in for some super heavy rain tonight and all day tomorrow, of course, because, you know, it's Friday and Saturday. So that's why the bad weather's here. All week, beautiful weekend, here we go. So anyways, I'm gonna leave it here. But in case this is the first time you're landing on my channel, if you are also on a health and or weight loss journey, and, you know, you're needing some motivation and some direction, then please consider subscribing, as I post all of my food, you know, all of my tips and tricks. And when I say I've struggled, I've been there, I get it, I mean it. And I really feel that I'm in a good position now to help you get to the other side as well. And again, if you're in need of some more weight loss friendly recipes that are all oil-free and whole food plant-based, don't forget about my awesome special I'm running this weekend. $8 for all 3 of my books. Really, really great deal. So again, that link will be posted in my description box below. I hope all of you have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you guys in the next one.